One of the most unanswered questions we have as Christians is what heaven looks like. Everyone wants to go to heaven, but our greatest question is, am I going to make it, and what will it look like? What does heaven look like? We always ask that question. So what's going to happen in heaven? Unanswered. Even though we all want to go there, but what does it look like? I think if we want to have a clue to that, we need to go back to scriptures. We're not the first to ask that question. The disciples of Jesus too wanted to know what heaven looked like. Because how do you desire something that you don't know what it is, right? For you to have a strong desire for something, you should know what that thing is. I said, I'm sure they constantly came to Jesus to ask, not only reassurance, but what is this heaven? What is it going to look like? And what will it take to get there? And if you go through scriptures, you see Jesus, not once, not twice, gives his disciples and his listeners a glimpse of what heaven looks like. And also what today, an idea of what it would take to get to heaven. So one image Jesus always uses to paint what heaven looks like is the image of a wedding feast. How often did he use that image when he talks about heaven? In so many places, passages in scriptures, he will tell his disciples, heaven is like a wedding feast. A wedding feast. And then they say, okay, that's what heaven is like. So who gets invited to this wedding feast? And Jesus' response always is, in form of a story, everyone is invited to this wedding feast. And so the disciples will go further to say, okay, how do you mean everyone? You just show up at this wedding feast? Is there a requirement to get to this wedding feast? He says, yeah, there has to be a wedding gown, a dress code. There has to be a dress that you have to wear to go to this heaven, to this wedding feast. And they say, what is that? What's that invitation card? What does it look like? And then he tells them in today's story. So in today's story, we see Jesus tweak the image of heaven, what it looks like. It tweaks the story a little bit. In other passages, Jesus always depicted heaven as a feast and everyone gets invited. Well, he goes further today to teach his disciples what it means to get there. And how did he put it? He tells the story of another wedding feast, but this time, not a wedding feast that everyone gets invited. The focus is not that everyone gets invited. The focus is how you get invited and how you make it to that. And how, in today's story, he tells us. He says, be like the servant whose master gets invited to a wedding feast. Listen to that story very well. So it's the master that gets, in today's story, it's the master that gets invited. The servants are not invited to the wedding feast. So the master goes to this wedding feast, but the servants have a task. So when the master leaves, they just don't go doing their own thing. Because that's what is going to qualify them. You're going to listen to the end of the story later. That's what is going to qualify them to enjoy the bounty that comes from the wedding feast. And so what are they supposed to be doing? Because the master goes to this party without telling them how long he's going to go. The master is just going to wing it. Yeah, how long are you going to be gone, master? They say, well, I don't really know. It all depends on how I'm enjoying the party. So he goes there and there's a lot of fun, music, a lot of drinking, and he forgets the time. He's having a good time. And so at the end of the day, he checks, oh, it's past midnight. Okay, one more hour. Let me have one more hour of fun. And then 1 more hour turns into 3 hours. And the next time he looks at his watch, it's 3 a.m. Oh, I got to go home now. But then the problem is, when I show up at home and I ring the doorbell, it's kind of too late. I might be sleeping outside today. I might become a homeless man because no one is going to open the door. And so he gets home at maybe about 3:15 or 3:30 in the morning, and boom, he rings the doorbell. And guess what? The door is open. And not just one servant, he has 6 of them, all of them wide awake, and says, welcome back. How was the party? Come in. Jesus said, how do you think this master is going to feel? He's going to look at these servants and say, you are so diligent. And then he gives them a reward. Do you hear the reward in today's gospel reading? This is the reward. If you read that story again, the master now says, okay, guys, I wasn't expecting you guys to be up. But just shows how much love you have for me that you didn't even go to bed. You were just waiting for me. I'm going to reward you. And how did he reward them? He got the servants to sit. And there is a role reversal. And he does for the servants what the servants usually would do for him. What happened? He pulls out his bag that he brought from the wedding banquet, and he had smuggled some food and drink that he was going to enjoy the next day. He says, I'm just going to warm this up in the morning because this food is so good. And then I'll just enjoy it because, just a continuation of the banquet. But because of the way he was received by the servants, what does he do? He asks them to sit, and now he begins to serve them. That is the reward. There's a role reversal. The master becomes the servant, and the servants who were not invited to this banquet, this special banquet, guess what? They get to enjoy the meal that came from this banquet. What is the lesson here for us today? So Jesus says, heaven is like a wedding feast. That's 1. 2, all are invited to this wedding feast. 2, but 3, it would take something for you to come to this wedding feast. And what will it take? He says, you got to be ready. You got to be ready. And what does Jesus mean by being ready? How do you qualify by being ready to go to this banquet? It says, by being at your duty post. Being in the field, that's what it means to be ready. In the story he told, the servants didn't know when the master was going to come back. But whatever time he showed up, they were ready. And because they were ready at their duty posts, the master rewarded them. And so Jesus says, the only way you qualify for heaven, because all are invited, but who qualifies for heaven is the one that is found when the master comes to gather people to go to heaven, busy in the field. What does that look like? So what does busy in the field look like for you? Let's break it down. Most of you listening to me this morning, you are parents. You're family men and women. You've got children. What does it mean for a father who has a family of 3, a family of 4, a family of 6, a family of 7, with a wife and children? What does it mean for that guy, that man, with 5, 4, 3, 2 children, 1 child? What does being in the field means? It means God has called you into a very privileged vocation of being called a dad. And he says, when I come back, the only way I'll bring you with me to heaven is if I find you doing your job as a dad. It's the same for a mother, he says. The woman that is going to go with me to heaven is the woman, when I come back, I find her living out our vocation of motherhood, whether as a mom or as a grandmother. What does it mean for a priest? This is what it means, that when he comes again, or he calls me home, he finds me busy in the field, preparing people ready to meet Jesus. What does it mean for a child who is not married yet? It means being very obedient to your parents and being respectful to them. What does it mean for a single man whose parents are no longer alive, and yet you're not married yet? It means, but you show up at work from Monday to Friday. It means being diligent at work, working honestly for your pay, making life a lot better in your place of work, and bringing Jesus with you and the love of Jesus to work. This is what it means. Jesus is very clear. He doesn't mince words today. He says, yes, heaven is for everyone, but you got to qualify for it. And what's the qualification? When I come back, would I find you busy doing something else? And today, in today's world, there are so many things begging for our attention. Thank God I didn't carry it. I was going to show my cell phone. One of the things that beg for our attention. If Jesus comes back today, guess what? What is he going to find us doing? I'm sure even the priest is going to find me pressing my phone. That's not the field. He's going to find me on Facebook. That's not the field. He's going to find me on Instagram. That's not the field. You know, when people come to me these days, a mom comes to me and says, Father, you know, I'm so busy. I'm just busy. I have 4 kids. I'm just busy. Life is so busy. And I say, yeah, I can't even imagine what it means to have 4 kids, because even without any, life is still busy for me anyway. And then I say, can we check, just go through how many hours you spend a day on the phone? And you discover that the same mother with 4 children, whose life is so busy, still has time to be on the phone for 6 hours. No wonder life is busy. Half of my time, even as a priest, this is true confession, sometimes is spent on the phone. The devil is very smart. He keeps you busy doing things that you think matter, but he takes you away from what God has called you to do. So the question this morning for you is, what is the field God has called me to? Because that's where he wants to find you. Be in the field, that's what he says. Be out there with all the dust. Be in the field. What is the field God has called you to? And are you there right now? Or are you busy doing every other thing that doesn't matter because you've got no priority? And yet what God has called you to is begging for your attention, and you do not have time for it. Shall we bow our heads in prayer? Lord, thank you for the message this morning. Just reminding us of what it will take to make heaven. Thank you for reminding us this morning that the gifts you have given us, you expect us to put those gifts to use. They shouldn't be sitting on the shelf, packing dust. Thank you for blessing us with these gifts. Thank you for the different vocations you've called us to. The noble vocation of being called mom, being called dad. How does that sound? That's so great. Lord, thank you for calling us to these vocations. And thank you for the gifts you've given us to live out our vocation. Lord, this morning we just pray against every distraction. And we know where distraction comes from. It's from the evil one. Distraction that tends to take us away from the field, from the task you have given us, that our children are growing without us. We're not present in their lives because we're so busy, but busy not being in the field. Lord, help us to give us the grace of the Holy Spirit to begin to prioritize our time, to know that the time, 24 hours, is precious, and you want us not to waste any of it. Lord, give us the grace to even be honest with ourselves, honest with our weaknesses, our flaws. Because sometimes we make excuses, and those excuses don't help us. Oftentimes, even to myself, I say, well, this is my me time. This is my downtime. And what does that mean? It means being on my phone for the next 6 hours. That's my downtime. Useless time, wasted time that I could have used building your kingdom. Lord, give us the grace to prioritize our time well, to know that the 24 hours you've given us, you expect us to manage it well. And that's what is going to qualify us for heaven if we are faithful to what you have given us. Bless every father, every mother listening to my voice right now that is struggling with being a dad or struggling with being a mom due to the challenges they are facing. Lord, I just ask you to be with them in their struggle in the field. Being in the field comes with challenges, comes with harsh weather, the dust, the drought, lack of rain. It just comes with a lot of challenges. Lord, just help everyone that you have called to be in the field. That as this week we go into the field to do what you've called us to, give us the grace to overcome those challenges that makes being in the field difficult. Remove every distraction, Lord, from us this week. Help us to stay focused on you and focused on what you've called us to do. Help us to remember that our time here is limited and we do not have all the time in the world. Sometimes it feels that way, But help us to remember that we do not have all the time in the world and that you expect us to use this time well. I bring before you, Lord, those who are struggling right now with stuff, just tired of stuff. I just pray for our one parishioner who suddenly lost her brother and she's really grieving right now. And for all those who are grieving due to one loss, could be loss of relationships, loss of marriage, loss of health, loss of a loved one. Lord, through the intercession of our Blessed Mother, a mother of sorrow, may you bring comfort to all those who are grieving at this time. I pray for those who are struggling at work, or those who are looking for a job, or those who have just lost their job and cannot provide for their family as they are expected to. Lord, I just ask that you provide for all. I want to thank you in a special way, Lord, for the greatest gift you have given us. And that's not the gift of being called a dad or mom or a priest, but the gift of Jesus. Thank you for this precious gift. Help us to use this gift wisely, and that is growing our relationship with Jesus, your beloved Son. Bless us this week. May we prioritize you and spend time with you so that we can grow in our knowledge for you and we'll be able to discern your will in all the choices that we're expected to make this week. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end.